My dear audience, today I want us to talk about the learning curve. The learning curve is a hierarchy of learning that shows the methodology employed in learning vis-a-vis the retention ability of students. Many are the times we visit schools, and the question students always ask is, they study so much, but by the time they get to the examination room, they have forgotten everything. So their dilemma is that what can they do so to retain everything during study? That question can be answered by the learning curve. You'll come to realize that there are 7 study methodologies which I want us to look at. Number 1 is lesson attendance. Lesson attendance attracts a retention ability of only 5%. A teacher going to class to teach, by the time they leave, students have forgotten 95% and they can only remember 5% of what the teacher taught. Unfortunately, the ministry expects that a teacher must attend all the lessons. That's why they always say that good teachers are facilitators, but they're not lecturers. When a teacher goes to class and lectures students, the retention ability is always only 5%. If you visit schools which are not performing and you check the attendance register, you realize that lesson attendance is always 100%. And the complaint you always get is that teachers attend all their lessons, teachers are very committed, students are very disciplined, but they are not getting results. The problem is not the teacher and the problem is not the student. The problem is the study methodology that is employed in those schools is always the wrong one. Reading of notes attracts a retention ability of only 10%. Many schools have got what they call morning preps and evening preps. And even on Saturdays, students always go to school and they read notes the whole day. When results come, they are not performing. Audiovisual presentations attracts a retention ability of only 20%. This is the use of projectors, electronic devices, and all those kind of things. Then demonstration attracts a retention ability of only 30%. Let us now go to group discussion. A group discussion will always attract a retention ability of 50%. If a student gets involved in a group discussion, when they get to the exam room, they will always remember 50% of what they discussed in their friends in the group discussions. If you go to schools which are performing, they have streamlined the issue of group discussions. You will find that always are class-based group discussions, general group discussions, and subject-based group discussions. Group discussions are always used for about 3 things. 1, making or marking schemes, where students are issued with the papers and they sit down with the textbooks. They will always read the question and find the answers from the textbook. The textbook remains the object of study, but questions direct them on areas to go and do it, to go and study. Group discussions are also used for group exams. Students are given papers, they discuss in their group, they do it as an exam. These papers, they are marked and revised. You'll find that through group discussion, a school is able to revise almost 10 or 15 marks. Then group discussions are also used for general group discussions. Students meet in their group discussion, they extend their studies and all those kind of things. So if once we start streamlining group discussion in schools, we shall see an increase in our performance. Exams attracts a retention ability of 75%. A student will always remember 75% of what they did in their exams, which were marked and revised. Performing schools, they run an examination system as opposed to a teaching system which is done by schools which are not performing. In running an examination system, you'll find that students are always either doing an exam, reading for an exam, or revising an examination. Performing school, they do quite a number of exams that include monthly examinations, daily evaluations, subject weekly evaluations. Students are doing a lot of self-evaluations. These schools will always do so many joints with other schools. They get involved in making or marking schemes and also in running group discussions. So if we find that if we want to see an increase in the performance of our schools, we must involve students in a lot of doing, because a lot of practice, a lot of evaluation and all those kind of things. Then lastly, peer teaching, which attracts a retention ability of 90%. If a student is taught something by their friends, they will always remember 90%. But if the same student is taught something by a teacher, they will always remember only 5%. So peer teaching, the greatest force in humanity is peer pressure. So once we use the student to influence one another, you always go somewhere. If you go to schools you are performing, you get a Form 4 student going to introduce a particular topic in Form 1. It's a crime for a teacher, especially let's say a teacher of English, going to introduce a particular set book in Form 3. A Form 4 student can do the same introduction in a better way, and students always remember what they were taught by their friends. That's why in teaching and learning, a teacher must always become a facilitator, always showing students in areas to do. You give them a topic, they read, then you give them work they do in the group discussions, then you come with an exam, you revise that exam with them and all those kind of things like that. So the learning curve always determines how much a student is able to retain. And for a school to perform, let us always narrow down at least 3 things. Running very successful group discussions, running an examination system, and peer teaching where we get subject champions. We get lots of symposiums since running in school. We sent out students for symposiums. We ran so many class-based class consultations and all those kind of student-based discussions.